Good evening. Come on in. Join the gathering. Good morning, Rihanna. Is it morning where you are? Welcome back, Bethany. Oh, okay. Because it's morning here, so I was like, wow, you are in my time zone, but not. Hello, April. Welcome back. Hello, Jenna. Nice to see you again as well. Hi, Tony. I'll just give some moments for everyone to gather that is coming on now for the beginning of this session. And of course, whenever you join in is great. Hi, Rochelle. Good evening. Hi, Rose. Rochelle, awesome you bought a friend. Hello, friend. Ginger, welcome. So today's session, we're going to be diving back into the powerful book called There's Nothing Wrong with You, Going Beyond Self-Hate by Cheri Huber. Let's take a breath in together. Let's take a mindful moment, collective breath. And gathering our energies, our intention, our focus, our attention and intention. Welcome back, J.E. So, breathing in from the awareness that I am loving awareness. Breathing in, I recognize I am loving awareness. Breathing out, I am loving awareness. Welcome back, Jessica. If there's anyone here that is experiencing emotions, energy in motion, that you may label as challenging or with specific emotions that are negative, quote, negative or challenging, you can breathe in. I welcome this sadness, this anxiety, this stress, this tension, this struggle, this pain, this grief, this anger, this overwhelm, this stuckness, this hopelessness. I will take good care of you. Breathing in, I welcome this sadness. Breathing out, I will take good care of you. Welcome, Angela. So these are inspired or whatever, learned from Thich Nhat Hanh, the famous Vietnamese Buddhist monk. And it goes right in line with our teachings for today for this book. How many of you have made it wrong or bad that there are challenging or stressful emotions? Because in this book, There's Nothing Wrong with You, talks about this. It's from childhood, that it's not okay that we feel a certain way. As children, we're conditioned that, oh, when I'm happy, when I do good, when I get good grades, when I do what is expected, I'm rewarded and accepted. And then if I have a tantrum, if I, am angry or upset, it's not okay. So then we internalize that and then make ourselves wrong. And so the path to releasing that, is like Ginger saying, haven't made it wrong exactly. So that's a great place to come from. And then the next step, they said, have wanted to escape. It's then being in acceptance, loving compassion, loving awareness, mindful acceptance, allowance. So, getting into the book that we are going to go over today, it is spiritual. It's got Buddhist elements, which include mindfulness and self-compassion and meditation. And I'm going to read from this book. If you want your free PDF copy of the book, send me a private message. I will get that to you. If you care to go back and watch the replays of this series, it's in my YouTube channel. There's a playlist there, as well as everything. All my live streams are there as well. Reach out if you'd like that, or you can just find me everywhere. Natalie Speakman, Natalie M. Speakman in some places, actually in most places. So I would appreciate a follow here, Insight Timer, and everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, check my website. There's a few days left to sign up for my Money Mindset group program that starts Saturday. It's 8 weeks. If you're ready to change your mindset around money and create financial abundance, send me a message. And we'll see if you're a good fit for the program. And yeah, I'm also going to offer, this is something new that's coming, so I'll offer it here to you first because I haven't offered it officially anywhere. I am experimenting, we'll say. The energy of experimenting is so great, isn't it? Even if you experiment in meditation, it's great because it means there's no pass or fail. There's nothing wrong. So I'm going to be experimenting with offering a different type of transformational coaching session. I am a spiritual life coach, Reiki master teacher, and intuitive, if you don't know that already. So I'm wanting to have some experimental sessions to where I can experiment with this format that I'm getting comfortable with. The benefit for anybody receiving it would be that you would get clarity on where you're at, where you're going, or where you want to go in your life, and what's in the way. So the value for you, that's the intention, is that you'll get clarity and you'll get to dream, and you'll also get to see, like, okay, this is the reality, nothing wrong, just is what it is in different areas of life. And then where do you want to go, and what vision do you have for that? And then things that are in the way. So I'm just doing this, for fun and for free, if y'all have heard that expression before, purely as a way to experiment and bring in some new tools into my coaching. Now, some people may be inspired and want to explore what it would like to be, like get support with that moving forward. That's fine. If not, it's a win-win for everyone. So send me a private message if that resonates with you. So great, Alexa, Angela, reach out. Hi, Liz. Thank you for joining. That's hilarious, Bethany. Yeah, so those of you that are new, I'm in Bali, and I live right now in what's called a homestay. So that means there's like what we call a Balinese compound. I don't know why they call it like family compound. So many Balinese people, and people all over the world too, they have like they build a separate area to house visitors as a source of income. So this Balinese family has built these 2 little bungalows. So yeah, it's great. And also most Balinese, every Balinese family has roosters and chickens. So they come around. Y'all have heard them. So we welcome their rooster joy, as Ginger has so wonderfully put it. They're actually not very loud right now. We'll see. Anyway, so let's get into the session. No, that I don't know, like, they're not for me. They are for them, the family. So no, they come around, they peck, they make noise, they visit. Yeah. So is there anybody brand new to me, Insight Timer, live streams, or the topic for today of this book? So it's a book study. There's nothing wrong with you. I know there's many of you have been joining and are in the community, but just in case. Okay, great, Bethany. And yeah, for those who are new, don't worry. You're hearing what you need to hear at the perfect time, and the replays are available. Great, Alexa. Welcome. So the format of this series, we're meeting weekly, and for June, it's at the same time every week. We'll see moving forward how that goes. So it's a book called There's Nothing Wrong with You, Going Beyond Self-Hate by Cheri Huber. I can send you the free PDF copy. There's also the audio link I can send you if you want to listen to the audio on your own. But yeah, the title's pretty self-explanatory. Now, the format of the book, there's some like just teaching, like narrative, and then there's some question answer with what they label as guide and student. So I think And if you are following along, we're going to start on page 182 on the page of the book. In the PDF, it's 197. And it actually starts with the guide, which is the author speaking. So we'll go ahead and jump in. My invitation to you, as it always is that you use this time and space to be a meditative and contemplative time where you're fully focused and you're giving yourself the gift of your full presence and attention with this space, because the world as it is and phones and technology as they are, that's a rare gift nowadays. So I know we're interfacing on technology, which is great. I love it. Technology is amazing. And also we get to, be mindful with it, as with everything. So the invitation to you is give yourself the gift of your full presence, attention, focus. Use this as a mindful time in a meditative space to be fully present. So welcome, Mark. So the title of this section is Going Out, Getting Miserable, Coming Back. Guide. To me, the psychological work we do is wonderfully helpful, but it's useless without sitting practice, meaning meditation. Now, sitting practice is not useless without the psychological aspect. You could just sit down and face a wall, and eventually you'd understand all of this. It's all available without having any intellectual understanding of it. However, the two together are a really solid program for ending suffering. But most people want to have only an intellectual understanding and then make that work for them. But it's like having an intellectual understanding of riding a bicycle. It's great when you're sitting in the living room with a book reading about it, but when you're flying down a hill, it doesn't help. The only thing that's helpful is doing it, practicing. We talk about that often here, and we do another live stream series with the book Conversations with God. And basically it's saying, the soul came to have an experience. The soul knows it is God, knows it is love. But to have that knowledge is different from having the experience. So to become a self-actualized, self-realized being, to awaken to the self, to become, quote, enlightened, we need to have the experience of what we are, not just read about it and have the knowledge. So for most of us, the spiritual journey is, we can absorb and learn, and yes, and also we get to have an experience of love, of bliss, of our true nature. That's what the soul is after. So same with meditation. You can read about it, you can listen to talks about it, but that's not enough. We need to have the experience. Hi, Blossom Violet. In our sitting practice, we go to that place of inherent goodness. We find that deep sense of well-being within ourselves, and we become friends with that. We go there, and we see that being there is wonderful. For the periods of time that we're there, all the problems fall away, everything falls into place, and then we leave that and go get caught up in something, and we come back. That's why I talk about, rather than taking our spiritual practice into daily life, we bring our daily life into our spiritual practice. We're creating a circle of compassion, and we keep bringing the events of our life into it. If I'm troubled and upset about something, I bring it into that still place, and there's peace there. It just resolves itself. It dissolves. Then I get caught up again. My mind takes off. I go into the conditioning, and I'm miserable again. Then I come back. I practice coming back here in the center going out, getting miserable, coming back here. Eventually I get to the point where when I look at being here in the place of compassion, or being out there caught up in self-hate, there's just no question about it. I don't want to be out there caught up in self-hate. It's not that I'm pushing that away. It's not that I'm saying I'm a bad person for doing that. It's just that I look at it. I realize what's going on. I want to come back here. So how many of you can relate to having that experience in meditation? You come, you sit, you close your eyes. You might have a glimmer of peace, of joy, of opening. And then the next thing you know, you're totally gone. Oh wow, I was thinking about what I'm doing afterwards or what I was doing before. And then there's thoughts of suffering, of resistance, of fear, of desire. Okay, there's that again. So that moment when we become aware that we have been identified with our thoughts, that's the moment of awakening, of waking up. And then how do you treat yourself in that moment? That is, to me, like one of the top 2 or 3 biggest practices of meditation. First, the waking up, and then how do you work with yourself when you notice you are off and you bring yourself back? The condition part, the self-hate part, the booklet calls this self-hate, like that critical voice, the conditioning. That part wants to be like, have a judgment. I went off again. I've been meditating for too long for this to keep happening. I should be farther along. It might not even be conscious, but do y'all notice that? There might even just be this energy of resistance, of disappointment or letdown or frustration. I know my mind gets frustrated. Yeah, I'm not doing it right. It's a perfect one, Angela. Bethany's noticed some progress. Great. For me, I did it this morning in my meditation. So I have a frame, like a intention that I use from the Way of Mastery teachings that I've brought up before. Those teachings say you just start for 5 minutes abiding as Christ. Now, don't get your hackles up. I'm not religious. Way of Mastery is in the flavor of A Course in Miracles, so they use that language. So for me, abiding as Christ means that Christ consciousness, which means that loving awareness, that that open heart, that Buddha nature, the peace, the power, the being empowered. So, and to sit as that, to embody that. And I noticed this morning as for a minute, I'm good. And then the wonderful mind comes in, and then I see it. And then the story is like, I can't keep it up. It's hard. It's too hard. You should be further along. Why is this still happening? You started out so good, and here it is again. So then in the waking up of that moment, then we get to release all that judgment. There's something wrong with us. Okay. I abide as Christ. Come back into the moment, feeling in the body. The Waking Up app, Sam Harris, he's written a book by the same name. It's a meditation app as well. He has guided meditations every day. I used to use that app for my morning meditation. And the last minute of the meditation, he'd say, okay, this is your final moment of meditation. Pretend like it's your first moment. Pretend like you just started again. Make this last moment as intentional as the first moment of meditation. And I always liked that teaching and that pointing. So like Ginger said, they notice they kind of lose it more at the end. I like that, having that same intention as when in minute 1. So having that in minute 10 or hour 1, minute 59. So, hi William, Heather, welcome. So, Jenna, there's a teaching called The Way of Mastery, which shares a lot of elements and language as A Course in Miracles. And I say that because The Way of Mastery, it gives like exercises and practices, and one of them is that I think it's the very first thing. It says start with 5 minutes a day, abiding as Christ, meaning sitting in meditation. It says sit in a chair, so feeling how that would feel, to abide as, to be as, to sit as. So that's what that is. Yeah, Bethany, Heather, just coming back to the breath. For me, the next level of my practice has been whenever I've done breath meditation before, I had this awareness, I would be controlling the breath and using that like a breath control, slower, deeper breaths as the focus. And that's great. And also the next level of that is letting go of controlling the breath, not touching the breath, but being aware of it without touching it. So that's what I'm practicing with now. And it's challenging because I've had this habit, like focus on the breath. Oh, okay, that means I take focused breaths. No. I mean, you can, but yeah, it's the next level. For me, at least. It's like, don't touch the breath. Let it be as it is. So, and then even labeling, Bethany says, labeling it, the distraction. And really, Jack Kornfield says there's only 2 things, really. We're either in planning or remembering. That's it. When we get distracted, 99% of the time, we're in planning for the future or remembering the past. So it's good to say, oh, planning, or thinking, planning, remembering, giving it that label, coming back. Great. Giving yourself grace, William. There's nothing wrong with you. So, hi, Kimmy. All right, next page, or next section in the book here. The section is titled, Who's Afraid of Me? I'm Afraid of Me. The benefit of working to see and let go of self-hate is that you cease to be afraid of yourself, and you find a greater willingness to sit down and be still with whatever is there inside of you. When you stop believing the voices of self-hate, you will notice a curious thing: emptiness, a hole inside yourself. Instead of distracting yourself and trying to fill it up, you become curious about how to sit down and be with the emptiness. It is a very wonderful thing. When we try to fill up that hole with distractions, that's what really leaves us feeling empty. That emptiness is full of suffering. It's a narrow, closed experience. The other emptiness is an open, spacious feeling. And yes, ego is uncomfortable with it because ego doesn't exist there. If we can let ourselves get used to that spaciousness, it's a wonderful experience. In the present, we can embrace the past and free the future. If the future is not freed to be the present, it is. Okay, wait. In the present, we can embrace the past and free the future. If the future is not freed to be the present, it is. Our present will always be lived in the past. If the future is not freed to be the present, it is. Our present will always be lived in the past. Is that landing with anyone? It's not 100% landing with me. Yeah. This one I might need to so I have a group here in Insight Timer, Natalie's Healing Circle. Oh, and actually let me type it out. But I think, yeah, I'm going to type it because hearing it and reading it will help. If the future is not freed to be the present, it is. Our present will always be lived in the past. Maybe this is like a koan. Our present will always be lived in the past. Because everything is always expressed in the present. But if our mind in the present is in the future, our present will always be lived in the past. So absorb that. Yeah, totally, J.E. Yeah, there is no future. Hi, Seeds, Kimmy. Yeah. So we will move on from there. Trust that will land and marinate. There's nothing wrong with not getting it. So, continuing, guide. I asked people if they had had a pleasant evening, and many indicated that they had not. So could we hear from some of the victims of post-self-hate workshop self-hate? So I think this whole thing comes from workshops. So, student. When I left the workshop, I felt a sense of gratitude. Here's the road to freedom I'd forgotten. It's very helpful to be reminded. Then I watched myself use that information against myself. This was a situation. Part of me is very indecisive, and in trying to decide whether I should spend the evening doing A or B, she became totally flustered and just wanted someone to tell her what to do. Then a self-hate voice said, "That's duality. The answer is not to do it." And then another judging voice said, "What you need is compassion, and you're not giving it to yourself." So self-hate took everything I learned and plugged it into the self-hating system. I was left with this indecisive person who was suffering horribly. And then I heard another voice say, "You're just maintaining self-hate." Afterwards, I could see that it was that voice that was maintaining self-hate. The person who was miserable was just miserable. And I wasn't doing anything to help her because I was accusing her of doing it wrong. Finally, I cried, and that seemed to release something, but I can see why people would stop paying attention. You start to see all this stuff, and it would be easy to decide that it's just too much. Guide. And who would decide that it's just too much except self-hate? Self-hate doesn't decide it's too much when it's beating you up. Only when you've become aware and are seeing what it's doing to you does it say too much. Doesn't that timing make you a little suspicious? If it's really too much, then stop beating yourself for being who you are. Isn't that where the misery comes in? So what if you have trouble making a decision? So what if you want someone to tell you what to do? So what if it's duality? So what if you're maintaining egocentricity? Would any of it be a problem if you hadn't been taught to believe that how you are is wrong? Will anybody die or have something awful happen to them as a result of how you are? No. So how do we justify all this violence? Someone has a hard time deciding between A and B. Should we kill her? Is she not fit to live? Or is it enough that she's simply beaten until she doesn't care if she lives? Can you see how insane this system is? How could violence and hatred improve anything? I would encourage you to risk the horrors of indecision and compassion. I don't see grown-ups in all this. I just see little children because that's how most of us feel inside. I picture this child who doesn't know whether she wants the red bucket or the blue bucket. The truth is she wants them both. They're both really pretty and she likes them equally, and she can't make up her mind. What she doesn't know is that in this world you only get one because getting both makes you selfish. What's going to help her out here? How about if we start yelling at her about making up her mind? About how if she doesn't decide soon, she's not going to get either one? Would it help if our voices sound angry and our faces are red and we grab her by the arm and shake her? No. And yet how many children are taught in that manner? Not knowing whether you want A or B, red or blue, does not make you a bad person. Those things have nothing to do with each other. But isn't it hard to see that? We've been taught that everything in life makes you either a good person or a bad person. But it's not true, and it never was. What came up for y'all as you heard that? Let me see. I see some comments. April, Bethany. Yeah, it did get deep fast. Who was I was hearing somebody, or I was in a conversation, I can't remember, and my mind is making myself wrong for that. Like, how can you not remember? Somebody was talking to you. There that is. Oh yeah, now I remember. But it was a story about, there was a workshop and there was these, it was a women's workshop, whatever, it doesn't really matter, but they were told to like sit with their thoughts and notice and like just write down their thoughts for like 5 or 10 minutes of everything that was there, and like the negative thoughts, or maybe they were told to like think about themselves or evaluate themselves or something, to where it was, the self-hate thinking, the conditioned thinking, the critical mind, the judgment. And then they had these people's sisters in the next room, or best friends or something like that. And then they had them come in, and they had to read everything they'd written to the other person, like as if they're saying it about them. And everyone was like, oh my God, I could never think or say that about them. I love them so much. I care about them so much. Well, then of course it's like, why do we say that to ourselves? Yeah. So this example, the person was judging themselves of, oh, they had all this awareness from this, workshop on nothing wrong with you and self-hate. And then they went home, didn't know what they wanted to do for the evening, and then made themselves wrong about it. And then it's like too much, wanting to give up. How many of you can relate to this? Because I can. Like, the more awareness I get, like in my meditation, if I'm doing just mindfulness practice, I've noticed a lot of overwhelm. I've noticed like a lot of like what that passage said of like, it's too much. I can't fucking deal with this. Like, so then I just want to give up or shut down or just say I can't do it. But isn't it interesting that the self-hate part never wants to give up when it's actively tearing ourselves down? Only when we start really noticing how much energy is there, then, oh, it's too much. So that's a little sneaky, interesting game. So I really liked what that said there. Yeah, I know, right? Hi, Lucy. Yeah, we're so quick to blame ourselves because of childhood conditioning. And, that goes into all the stuff we're all learning and knowing about those dynamics. If we're made wrong for being indecisive. Oh, do I want the red bucket or the blue bucket? The little girl says. The unhealed and unaware caregiver doesn't have patience. Hurry up and decide. If you don't choose now, you're not going to get either of them. There's nothing wrong with being indecisive, but when we're disciplined and conditioned in that way, of course. That's great, Bethany. So, all of life's conflicts are between letting go or holding on, opening into the present or clinging to the past, expansion or contraction. Y'all know that I love that one. Especially all of life conflicts are between letting go or holding on. The path of patient effort. Once upon a time, there was a student who came faithfully to Zen retreats, but always in the grips of the belief that she was a bad meditator. I can already relate to this. Anyone else? At every retreat, she agonized about this, and every time she said the same things. I can't meditate. I sit on the cushion and think about things. I daydream. I write books. I fidget. I just can't do this. And the teachers would say, That's all right. Just keep showing up. Sit there. Pay attention when you can. Retreat after retreat, the same thing went on. After 5 years, suddenly the good meditator showed up at a retreat. There was nothing to fight against any longer, and the part of the student who wanted more than anything to meditate was finally able to come to a retreat. Now the good meditator was the one who had been bringing the student to every retreat all along and taking whatever meditation time it could get. Self-hate told her endlessly what a bad meditator she was, but the good meditator patiently stayed with it, and finally the student was able to see that part of herself. Moral of the story, no matter what anybody says, don't give up on yourself. Acceptance is the path to creativity. In fact, it is creativity. Acceptance is the path to creativity. In fact, it is creativity. Until you accept, nothing new can be. You will have only the past. If you want a new world, accept the world as it is. If you want a wholly new world, accept it wholly. WHOLLY. Or holy. When the Buddha wanted to find out how suffering happened and how to end it, and discovered that no one could tell him, his response was to find out for himself. It's possible for each of us to do this, although almost none of us wants to. Almost nobody wants to grow up. We think it's too hard. We would rather focus on what's wrong with us and why we can't do anything about it. We don't want to take care of ourselves because that means giving up the wish to be taken care of by someone else. I want my mother to do it. She should have done it, but she didn't. I'm going to stay stuck right here until what? Until she does it, but she can't do it and she never could. Again, we need to consider this. If we can't do it, how could someone else have done it? Well, I could do it now if she had done it then. No. That's a scam run by egocentricity designed to keep you stuck. We look for things that were done to us because that makes us the victim. When we are the victim, things are not our fault and we don't have to take responsibility. We can point to all these reasons that we are how we are. We can also say, yes, this did happen to me, and my parents did it to me because their parents did it to them, and so on down the line. And if I can't stop doing it to myself, how can I expect them to have stopped doing it? They weren't aware any of this existed. They were just being good parents in the same way they were parented. Almost nobody wants to grow up. Taking responsibility is not taking blame. It's not your fault. It's not someone else's fault. It's not anyone's fault. Fault misses the point. This is how it is. This is your best opportunity to turn it around. There will always be future opportunities, but why not use this one? So this touches up against some stuff, right? And I say this often, it's not saying abuse is okay and mistreatment is okay, and also at some point in our lives we grow up, we become adults, and at that point it's our responsibility. And we can point the finger back and back and back, and it doesn't It just keeps us in the old framework. And then there's that wounded part that wants, the parenting that it never had, that it's never going to get until we give it ourselves. That's what reparenting's about. That's what inner child work's about. And really, in its deepest essence, it's just having compassion. I was just listening to Thich Nhat Hanh this morning, and he gave this example of, my self-hate, my anger, my jealousy, my sadness, my anxiety. And he's like, imagine when you take a baby in your arms and you put it above your shoulder and you just say it's okay and you rub their back. That's the energy in which you get to work with yourself when you feel those emotions. So practice that. Thank you, Kimmy. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we just get to work with ourselves in every moment. It's simple, it's not easy, and it's possible. So if you choose to stay in the victim story and not being responsible, that's your choice, and you can have that, and you can have your suffering until you don't. And there's nothing wrong with you if you choose to stay there. Honestly, I still have to work with the part often, very often, and the mind wants to make myself wrong for that, of that part that is wishing mother were different, because exactly what that said earlier, if she would have parented me in the way that I needed/wanted, then I wouldn't be dealing with this right now. So it's her fault. And I see that story, that energy, that story still there. And one of the most, powerful choices we can make, and I'm making it, and it's some people may just get to make it once, and some people get to make it every day or every minute, of like, nobody is coming to save me. That's so empowering. And, it's something only we can do. And also, we don't do any of this alone. But nobody can do that for you. Thanks for that example, Blossom Violet. Thank you for the donations. Thank you so much. Yeah. That acceptance. To paraphrase an old Zen story, one hot summer afternoon, the monastery cook, an elderly monk, was spreading mushrooms on a mat to dry in the sun. A young monk saw him and asked, "Why is an old man like you doing such hard work in the heat of the day?" The old monk replied, "If not me, who? If not now, when?" Paraphrase of another Zen story. Old Zen story. A woman went to a Zen monastery. She was so thrilled to be there, such a holy place, a place of enlightenment. The first sitting period, she walked mindfully up the steps of the meditation hall. As she was preparing to bow deeply before entering, she noticed a shocking thing. There, at the top of the steps, was a bucket of filthy wash water with a mop protruding from the murky depths. "That's awful," she exclaimed, truly horrified, and went in to meditate. The next morning, the bucket was still there. "That's disgusting," she muttered. "This is Zen?" and went in to meditate. The next morning, the same bucket. She explained, I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. Someone should do something about this, and went in to meditate. The fourth morning, there was the bucket, hardly improved by the days of neglect. The woman looked at the bucket and thought, I'm someone, and took it away and cleaned it. People 40, 50, 60 years old are waiting for their parents to parent them. I don't want to have to love myself. I want my mother to love me. I want my father to give me what I need. The odds are very good that that's not going to happen. If your parents could love you the way you want to be loved, it already would have happened. So that bucket sitting there and judging that it's there, and finally the person did it themselves instead of waiting for somebody else to do it. Only you know how you want and need to be loved. Only you can love you the way you want and need to be loved. If you can't or won't give yourself what you need, how do you suppose someone else who isn't nearly so motivated, who in fact is looking to get it for themselves, possibly from you, is going to provide it for you? It's like, it doesn't make logical sense. But when we're dealing with that part that I call, the wounded child, it doesn't make sense, because that energy of that wounded child is stuck in the past. Like, I was working with a client on the phone the other day on a call. They were complaining because they're also working with somebody else that this person won't change. And I said to him, look at how difficult it is for you to change. How well do you think it'll work to try and get somebody else to get him to change? And he was like, whoa. Yeah, we just get to be okay, William, with how it was. And it doesn't mean, of course, that we're excusing or condoning behavior. It's just like with anything. Like yesterday I talked about Joe Dispenza and his story, that it was actually this old woman, an 83-year-old woman that shouldn't have been driving because she hit him going like 55 miles an hour while he was riding his bicycle in a triathlon, and it broke his back. He could be in blame about that woman for the rest of his life. But instead, he took that situation and he overcame it. And now that really is the gift of the biggest blessing of his life, because all his teachings and everything he's learned and who he has created himself from that in a better way. So we can do that with our childhood. We can do that with anything. Hi, Jamie. Expectations ruin everything. So true. So I love this book because it's like a little inner child book. Here's the next page. Almost nobody wants to grow up. It's got like these drawings and it's got big letters. So again, if y'all want that PDF, send me a message. I'll send it to you. We'll finish in just a moment. Yeah, we'll end with this next statement. You can have it all. Living from compassion for ourselves gives us each the loving parent we've always wanted. You can have it all. Living from compassion for ourselves gives us each the loving parent we've always wanted. So one of my favorite teachings from Ram Dass, like a mantra that he gives and talks about, is I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. So I invite you all, if you can resonate with this. Is there anybody that hasn't experienced any of this? If you are, that's great. You're one of the 0.1%, which is great. I imagine everyone can relate. So use that as your mantra. I am loving awareness. When we start to orient into that, then we start disengaging from the identification with the self-hate voice, the critical voice, the judgmental voice, the old critical parent voice. And even remember yesterday, many of you were here for Conversations with God. We talked about the I am, and that's the most powerful, magical phrase. I am loving awareness. It is our true, it is God nature. It is God. God is loving awareness. There is an awareness. It is love. So this all ties beautifully together, even with yesterday's teaching. So we can have the knowledge. I know all day long I'm loving awareness. To feel it, to even feel it when I feel good, great. To feel it when I'm sitting in meditation and frustrated that I can't stop fucking thinking about what he said, she said, he did, she did, worried about the future, bringing myself back over and over, and then feeling like I'm not enough, I'm not doing it right, I'm not doing it good enough. Oh, I am loving awareness. Oh, but you've said that 1,000,000 times already. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. Ooh, I feel emotions. Because it feels so good, because it's the truth. Everything else we've been talking about, that's the conditioning and the self-hate, it's not the truth. So here's an experience, the experience of I am loving awareness. I was listening to Michael Singer this morning, and he's like, you don't want that person to love you. You want to feel the love that you experience in their present at that time. What if you could give yourself that all the time? It's a very powerful session today. Thank you all for your presence, for your connection, for your engagement. And even if you haven't said a word, your presence is appreciated. Hi, Aiden. You're welcome. Awesome, Jamie. Allison. Hi, Matt. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Liz, April, Bethany, J.E. So we'll go ahead and close. Don't forget to follow me if you haven't already. If you found this valuable, give a donation. You can catch the replays on my YouTube. Deb, welcome. Thank you. I so appreciate all of your support. It really means a lot and it makes a difference. It helps me to continue this, which I'm so grateful and blessed that this is just my life. It's one of my other favorite affirmations. After I left my job of almost 13 years, for a month straight, I'm just like, this is just my life. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to go to work. This is just my life. So I can acknowledge myself and spirit and everyone, and thank you. So yeah, my next live, and we're going to, as I've said before, this month of June, like now in June, I've made a schedule. So next week, same time, we're doing this book again. So all the lives are made. So the next one is going to be Thursday morning in the Western Hemisphere, Thursday evening in the Eastern, and we're going to do Reiki for most people's mornings or wherever you are, but with the intention, that you will, it will be like just getting into the Reiki and drawing a card for the intention of creating your day, or if you're on the other side of your day, ending your day, or if you're in the middle, whatever. Thank you for the donation, Rose. April, amazing. Well, I've definitely been on that path, and I'm a writer, and I have that story written on my blog, on my Facebook. By the way, happy Gemini season. My birthday's in 2 weeks. Woo woo, Geminis. Nadine also soon leaving. Amazing. Great. So see you all very soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ooh, I'm June 12th, William. Happy early birthday. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo-hoo. I mean, I say it often, you can't make this shit up, but I mean, I'm born a Gemini sun and Venus, and my last name's Speakman, and Geminis are the communicators and writers of the zodiac. Allison, are you June 12th or Gemini? So, okay, I'm working to get yesterday's live onto my channel, and the internet is being the internet in Bali, so stay tuned. Ooh, June 12th for your mom, Jamie. Allison, same day. So I don't think I'm going live. I was going to go live on that day, but I'm actually I'm supposed to go with this Balinese healer I went to a few weeks ago to do a sunrise birthday on the beach, Balinese energy healing something ceremony. So yeah, if that doesn't happen, I will go live just for fun. So, woo! Y'all get on a plane right now. Get over to Bali. Allison, June 4th. Oh, so we have Allison, June 12th, and Allison, June 4th. And the other Allison, Gem, Sun, and Moon. Booyah. Yeah, I love to nerd out on astrology, as y'all know. And I mean, you just can't make this shit up. Ooh, Mark. I was reading through old emails to find something yesterday, and I saw this email from an astrologer who I got a reading from a year ago. He warned me of something quite specific that was supposed to happen this spring, and now the spring has passed and the thing freaking happened. Too bad I forgot about the warning. I remembered it for a while, but it was so like far out in the future and whatever, I just didn't remember. And then yesterday I could not believe my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, he predicted this exactly. Isn't it interesting? Can't make this shit up. If you want his info, send me a message. I didn't, just, he did a couple question things for me, so it wasn't even a full on thing. So I can imagine that would be very powerful. Anyway, okay, bye bye. Have a good evening, morning, afternoon.